Welcome to Daily Life Connection, as we continue to explore the character of God and who He really is and what difference that makes in our lives. Yesterday we began a journey in Psalm chapter 7 together. This God who delivers, this God who leads people out of their lostness. Today I want to continue in that psalm, reading from verse 10. Some sat in darkness and in gloom, prisoners in misery and in irons. For they had rebelled against the words of God, and spurned the counsel of the Most High. Their hearts were bowed down with hard labor. They fell down, and no one was there to help. Then they cried to the Lord in their trouble, and He saved them from their distress. He brought them out of darkness and gloom, and broke their bonds asunder. He shatters the doors of bronze, and cuts in two the bars of iron. Let's talk together a little bit this day about the God of the imprisoned. Many people find themselves imprisoned in life, not necessarily in a physical prison, although some certainly do. But the prisons of fear and doubt, the prisons of low self-esteem and poverty and injustice. There are so many prisons that lock us in to keep us from experiencing life to the full. Sometimes it might be relationships. Sometimes it may be a dead-end job. Sometimes it may be loneliness. Sometimes it may be a physical issue in our lives. Things that imprison us, things that slam the door in our face. Oh, we can still see out through the bars and see where we'd like to be, but we feel there's no hope in getting there because we're imprisoned. These things have locked us into our current state of mind, our current state of heart, our current state of life, and we don't see any way out. Well, that's what this is talking about, those who languish in prison. And this chapter is talking about the fact that it's their own fault. Their own fault. Lots of times we're imprisoned by things which aren't necessarily our fault, but even if they are our fault, the result of bad choices, bad actions, bad attitudes, He is still the God of those imprisoned people. This is wonderful news today. He's not just the God of those who've been unfairly imprisoned. He is also the God of those who've been fairly prisoned. I mean, think of the story about Jesus on the cross and the convicted thieves beside Him. One of them says, "We're up here being crucified because we deserve it. We are imprisoned in this death because we've done wrong." But he hasn't. Well, what does Jesus say to him? "My friend, this day you're going to be with me in paradise." This day. He is the God of the imprisoned, the God of the convicted, the God of the guilty. And He still desires to release those people and lead them out to freedom. So here's the good news. If there's some area of our life today where we feel imprisoned, held back, unable to achieve real freedom or glory or holiness or whatever it may be in our lives, satisfaction, we can't get there because we've been imprisoned by something or someone or something. The good news is God is the God of the imprisoned. He's not scared of prison. You remember the scriptures that talk about when He died, He went into hell and tore down the gates and tore down the bars and unlocked the doors. He's not afraid to get into hell. God is not afraid to get into our hell, the imprisonment that we experience, or anybody around us. The person that we know that may seem to be the most rebellious, the most far from God, the most evil among us. He is their God too. He is willing to break down every door and bar and gate to get to them, to set them free. That's His journey. That's His mission. That's His passion. That's his work. That's good news. So whether we're imprisoned by things that were not our fault or whether we're guilty of the prison that we're in, He is still our God either way. And He will do everything necessary to set us free. Jesus is the great freedom giver, isn't he? And in Galatians chapter 5, it is for freedom that Christ has set you free. God in Christ has set you and I free from every imprisonment. From every imprisonment. Sometimes I heard this illustration one time, and it's like when Jesus died on the cross and rose from the dead. He unlocked the door to every cell, every prison. But sometimes we sit in there and we think, the door still looks shut to me. The door still looks locked to me. Well, I want to encourage you today, go give a push on that door. And I think sometimes the things that we think are holding us in prison, they're just a fake. They're not real. They're not locked anymore. I shouldn't say they're not real. They are real, but they're not locked. They do not determine our status. We can walk out those prison doors because Christ has opened them. He's the God of the imprisoned, that he sets free. That's good news today. Whatever area in your life or mine that needs to be set free, he's already done it. Let's walk in that victory. Let's walk in that freedom today and give him thanks. We'll talk again tomorrow. God bless.